Hello everyone, and let's begin. I just want to point out we've been working on the same standard for about a week and a half now, and we are going to keep working the same standard for about another week and a half. It is a monster, but let us continue chugging through it. Alright, we have 3 LEQs today. Do not fret though, the LEQs are relatively short. What is the law of supply? How does the profit incentive affect supply? And what does a supply schedule and a supply curve show? Alright, so let's do a quick review. Now, in America's mixed market economy, you have to understand that it's split into 2 opposing ideas. Those 2 ideas are supply and demand. Now, when we are talking about the demand side of the market, we are talking about consumers buying stuff. That is, you and I trying to fulfill all of our needs and wants based on our income. Now, you and I, we want stuff at the lowest possible prices. We would love it if we could buy a Lamborghini for a penny. We would love it if we could buy a mansion for $1. We want things as cheap as possible. Now, of course, you know that is not ever going to happen. It's not realistic. Now, there is the other side of the coin, the other side of the economy, if you will, and that is the supply side. Now, the supply side are the people trying to sell us stuff, the entrepreneurs, the manufacturers, the distributors who are trying to sell us a product, and their purpose, the majority of their purposes, is to make a profit. Most companies exist to make a profit, okay? So we have a clash here, guys. Like these are 2 opposing ideas. It is a clash. We want stuff for cheap. The consumers want stuff for cheap, but the suppliers exist just to make money. They want to sell as much as they can at as high a price as possible. So let's go to our definition of supply. So I want you to compare this to the economic definition of demand. So the economic definition of supply is a supplier's willingness and ability, those 2 key words, willingness and ability to provide goods and services at different prices in the marketplace. So basically, you take the economic definition of demand, you take out the word consumer, and replace it with suppliers. It's the exact same thing. Now, you have the law of demand. Price goes up, quantity demand goes down. Price goes down, quantity demand goes up. The law of supply is a little bit different. If the law of demand, price and quantity demanded have an inverse relationship, the law of supply is that price and quantity supplied, denoted as QS, have the same relationship. That is, they move in the same direction. So as price rises, quantity supplied rises. As price falls, quantity supplied falls. So why is this? In general, larger quantity will generally be supplied at higher prices than at lower prices. Why? So why is it if things are more expensive, do we want to sell more of it? Again, we're speaking from the supplier side right now. So right now I'm pretending I'm an entrepreneur or someone selling a good or service. So why does the law of supply work? So if you guys think about the law of demand, the 3 factors that affect the law of demand, we have the real income effect, substitution, and diminishing marginal utility. There is another underpinning to the law of supply that affects that. And that underpinning is the profit incentive. I want you guys to star this, underline this, is something you need to know. So the profit incentive is a desire to make money that motivates people to produce and sell goods and services. That's why people get into entrepreneurship for the most part. They want to make money. Now guys, think about this. Pretend you're an entrepreneur right now. The higher the more money you can make, the higher the price of a good, the greater the incentive is for a producer to produce more. This leads to higher profits. Wow, I can make a lot of money selling, beet juice at a juice bar. If I can make a lot of money selling one, I want to try to sell 1 million. That's the profit incentive. Now, a side note here, so this is a side note. Understand that profit is how much you sell it for minus how much it costs to make it, okay? So keep that in mind. There's a difference between revenue, which is total money accumulated, and profit. All right, so you guys have seen something similar to this before. This is a supply schedule. Now, keep in mind the law of supply applies here. So I did a little example of Jared's juice bar, pretending I'm making an organic vegetable juice bar. Now I have the price for beet juice and the quantity supplied. Now keep in mind, guys, this may not be realistic. These numbers are example, but the law of supply is demonstrated. At lower prices, where I'm not making as much profit, I have no incentive to try to produce and sell more of them. But as my price increases, as I move from $3 to $5.50, my quantity supplied will increase as well. Now keep in mind, guys, this is not how much I actually sold. This is just a table showing what I am willing and able to sell, okay? This is what I'm willing and able to sell. So let's take a look at a graph example. Okay, so we have our demand curve as such. That's the demand curve, a downward sloping demand curve. Price goes up, quantity demanded goes down, and the opposite of that. I am now going to blow your minds and show you the supply curve. Are you ready? If the demand curve is downward sloping, the supply curve, which is the opposite of demand, must be upward sloping. That's it, guys. That is the supply curve. We'll label this supply 1. The law of supply applies here. We have this price and this quantity demanded. If the price goes up, you and I, affected by the profit incentive, we want to produce more of it. The price went up and the quantity supplied went up as well. Ooh, look at me, I made an error. That should say quantity supplied. Alrighty. So here's our LEQ in review. What is the law of supply? As price rises, quantity supply rises. As price falls, quantity supplied falls. Now the profit incentive is why the law of supply works. The profit incentive is a desire to make money that motivates people to produce and sell goods and services. In the case of supply, the more profit we can make from the sale of a good or service, the more willing and able we are to increase the quantity supplied of that product. And I finally showed you guys what a supply curve and a supply schedule shows, and that simply shows the quantity supplied at different possible prices. Alright, it's time for some extra credit. So tomorrow in class, you guys are going to turn in the following prompt. This is not going to be advertised. I'm not going to ring the bell. This is something you simply need to do on your own time, nonchalantly turn it into the period folders, okay? Here is the prompt. It's not really a prompt, it's more of a question, all right? So again, this is going to be about a paragraph response. If you want to respond to more than a paragraph, please do so. I'm going to ask you, what do you plan on doing this summer to help you get ahead? Most of you are seniors. You are about to enter a very competitive world. If you think life is difficult now, as a sheltered 18-year-old and younger, life is going to be much more interesting and entertaining and downright difficult once you graduate high school. The real world is scary and it's very competitive. So I want you guys to think of this as a reflection. What are you going to do after high school to get ahead? How are you going to give yourself an advantage? What are you going to do to win at life? That is a very open-ended question. You may interpret it however you'd like. Thank you.